frayed ties with China. And the Monetary Authority ups the base lending rate to 1.75%, matching the US central bank's move overnight. We begin tonight with a fresh law enforcement deal between Hong Kong and the mainland that's set to spark controversy here. Starting next year, mainland authorities can detain Hong Kong residents for more than a month without telling SAR officials. The agreement was signed by Security Secretary John Lee and witnessed by Chief Executive Carrie Lam in Beijing. It states that suspects of terrorism or national security risks can be detained in secret for up to 30 working days. Those accused of lesser crimes can be detained for up to 2 weeks. The new mechanism will take effect on February 1st. Meanwhile, Carrie Lam also took Hong Kong's involvement in the Belt and Road Initiative to another level. She signed a deal with the National Development and Reform Commission Director, He Lifeng, forging closer finance, investment and infrastructure ties with the mainland. Lam also met with top Beijing official Zhang Xiaoming earlier. South Korean President Moon Jae-in is in Beijing to meet Chinese President Xi Jinping in the hope of repairing ties that were frayed by a dispute over the deployment of an anti-missile system. And as Eve Johnson reports, Moon is going all out with the star power to get relations back on track.
South Korea launches a charm offensive in China. President Moon Jae-in this week pulling out all the stops on his first visit to Beijing as North Korea's nuclear weapons program casts a shadow over the region. Moon is bringing a huge entourage of diplomats, businessmen, and some of South Korea's biggest stars, like wildly popular boy band EXO and Song Hye-kyo, an actress with legions of fans across China. But as Reuters' Ben Blanchard says, Moon has his work cut out for him.
Trade between China and South Korea has been very badly impacted since an argument last year over the THAAD anti-missile system, which South Korea and the United States say is needed to defend against North Korean missiles, but which China says is a threat to its security because its radar can look deep into Chinese territory.
Beijing has retaliated with economic punishment. It's boycotted South Korean goods from cars to cosmetics, yanked South Korean dramas off TV, even canceled concerts by K-pop stars, including EXO last year. Analysts say the quarrel has cost South Korea billions in lost revenues. Moon is now keen to get things back on track with a list of new trade deals on offer. But the new president's visit is about more than just trade talk. The two countries may have their differences, but agree on one point: North Korea should not have nuclear weapons.
North Korea and trade are expected to top the agenda in talks between the two leaders. For more on Moon's first visit to China since becoming South Korean president, let's now turn to Sandy Huang in Beijing.
Getting economic relationships back on track will be top of the agenda for Moon Jae-in's visit this week. The dispute over the THAAD missile defense system has really dealt a huge blow to the Korean economy, and part of reviving business is signing a memorandum, which is a step forward in negotiations for a South Korea-China free trade agreement for service industries. Some of those trade talks will also happen in the city of Chongqing, the southwestern city, which is home to many Korean businesses, including Hyundai Motors, which has seen a huge slump in sales over the past 9 months. And in regards to the K-pop diplomacy with some of Korea's biggest stars, experts are saying now this, while this will help revive cultural links, it's unlikely that this will trigger any significant progress in political talks.
To the latest on Brexit talks, the EU's chief negotiator, Michel Barnier, says Britain can't renege on commitments. That's after UK's Brexit minister said last week they were not legally binding. British Prime Minister Theresa May is in Brussels today for more talks, but things aren't looking good at home after UK lawmakers dealt her another blow by voting to change her Brexit blueprint. David Doyle reports.
British Prime Minister Theresa May has suffered a damaging blow to her plans for leaving the European Union at the hands of UK lawmakers. Parliament voted on Wednesday to change her blueprint for Brexit so that it gets more say in any final deal. Brexit's deep divisions in British politics showing in a tight vote.
The ayes to the right, 309. The noes to the left, 305.
Politicians have been debating the detail of an EU withdrawal bill for 7 days and voting on any potential amendments. Wednesday's amendment was put forward by a member of May's own party, former Attorney General Dominic Grieve.
to implement something that we do not at present know what it is.
The amendment gives Parliament the power to approve or reject the government's final Brexit deal by passing a separate written law. That means May could get sent back to the EU negotiating table if lawmakers are not happy with the terms of withdrawal. May occupies a precarious position, having sacrificed her majority in a snap election in June. She had earlier promised to give Parliament various votes on the final deal in a bid to quash any rebellion, and also warned that voting for this amendment could endanger an orderly and smooth exit from the EU. But that carrot and stick approach was not enough. The vote showing May's weakened authority over her own lawmakers, some of whom have rebelled against her. A spokeswoman said the government was disappointed with the result, and it also comes at a difficult time. May heads to Brussels on Thursday to try and encourage the European bloc's other 27 leaders to start a discussion on future trade. Her arrival there now overshadowed by a cloud of defeat.
All right, moving on now to the latest business news. Well, let's get a look at how market players reacted to US central bank action overnight. Market players actually appeared to shrug off the Fed hike. The HSI began the day in positive territory, but pulled back following the release of some weak economic figures out of the mainland. It closed down 0.2% at 29,166 points, weighed by gaming and tech counters. That's after the Federal Reserve nudged up the money market rate by 0.25 percentage point.
We're in a synchronized expansion. This is the first time in many years that we've seen this. Inflation around the world is generally low. So I think the risks are balanced, and there's less to lose sleep about now than has been true for quite some time.
Well, the Monetary Authority responded to the Federal Reserve's move with a rate hike of its own. The HKMA raised the base lending rate by 25 basis points to 1.75%. China's central bank upped its rate for its reverse repos and medium-term lending facility loans by 5 basis points. Meantime, there was a slew of data out of the mainland today. Industrial output and retail sales grew at a steady pace last month, while fixed asset investment cooled slightly. That reinforced signs of a slowdown in China as the government keeps cracking down on financial risks. Tighter rules on polluting factories have also crimped production, while higher borrowing costs have weighed on overall economic activity. Data also showed coal output in November hit its highest since June as China's heating season kicked off in the middle of the month. Demand rose to nearly 300 million tonnes despite the government's efforts to switch to cleaner energy. Households have been forced to use coal because of natural gas shortages. Many are also using electric heaters, drawing on power from coal-fired plants. Toyota Motor and Panasonic Corp are considering jointly developing batteries for electric vehicles. It's a partnership that could help Panasonic extend its market lead in automotive lithium-ion batteries. Kate King has more.
Two of Japan's biggest names are considering joining forces. Their plan is to develop batteries for electric cars, something Toyota says Panasonic is already pretty good at.
Within the industry, Panasonic is number one after years of accumulating knowledge. Panasonic has nurtured its electric vehicle development through its hybrid car, and it has a strong passion towards cars. It never sees a car as just a commodity.
The pair already produce batteries together for hybrids. This still reflects the growing drive towards all electric. Toyota will start marketing pure EVs in the early 2020s.
Going electric is a big issue for the car industry, and I believe the key is the batteries. Japan has no resources, so in order to survive this revolutionary time, we have to compete in battery innovation and create a framework in which we can supply them steadily.
Toyota hopes by 2030 half of all its sales will be for vehicles which use alternative fuels, while Panasonic wants to carry on being a world leader. It's already the main battery supplier for Tesla, and it commands 29% of the battery market in both plug-in hybrids and EVs. It sees batteries powering its profits too. It aims to double revenue to more than $22 billion by 2022. A new gigafactory in the US opened earlier this year, will be followed by a plant in China and new production lines at home.
Elsewhere, the WTO's biennial meeting ended in stalemate, raising questions about its ability to govern increasingly disputed global trade. Protests continued outside on the final day of the gathering in Buenos Aires. It had been marked by criticism and by the US and member country vetoes. Ministers weren't expected to agree on majority trade reforms, but even relatively minor proposals on e-commerce and fishing subsidy curbs ran aground. It means negotiations on the same topics will continue into 2018 with no deadline for agreement.
We are deeply disappointed that there was no agreed outcome that we know of so far on the issue of public stockholding, which means that governments around the world in developing countries will not be able to grow food, pay farmers for food, and distribute that food to hungry people. It's a travesty because it is a situation that is constraining the food security of millions and millions of people.
All right, time for a break now. But when we come back, find out who just got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
On the road to becoming the best in the field, we pledge to revamp the world through television. We pave roads between humans and nature. We speak the same language. We build a tunnel to the other side of the world, reveal thought-provoking images that you can't look away.
Welcome to the ViuTV News Roundup.
ViuTV6. Connect the world. We are one. Finally, there is a TV program exclusively for dogs. And of course, for humans who love their furry friends. Scientifically developed, pup-approved. The content is solely designed to appeal to man's best friend. Let your dog sit around TV and be stimulated and entertained by the exciting movements and objects. Or simply chill them out with soothing sounds and images. Just sit back and enjoy the fun of watching TV with your pooches. Dog TV, Saturday and Sunday nights at 8 on ViuTV6. Provocative stories that have changed lives. Insightful interviews with notable figures from the worlds of news, politics, and entertainment. ViuTV6 brings you one of the most esteemed news magazines. ABC News 2020. Sunday night at 9:30 on ViuTV6. Dream large, live larger. Movie star Vincent Chase, together with his boys and trusty agent, show you how a Hollywood dream comes true. A glamorous journey of comedy, drama,